never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed my top 10 countdown yesterday, which of course involved the tribute to Mike Leach. If you have not yet watched yesterday's top 10 countdown, I encourage you to please go back and do so. And when you do, give the video a thumbs up, give the video a like, comment, and share. All that stuff is free to you, and you'd be surprised at how much that helps the channel. So I always encourage you to comment, share, subscribe, and click the thumbs up button and like every single video that you watch. I figured since during the college football regular season, we previewed all the big games coming up that weekend every single week. So I figured since we did that, we need to do it for the bowl games. Now, today I'm not going to talk about every single bowl game, just the ones that are coming on this weekend. And then next week, we'll preview all the bowl games coming up next week, because bowl games start tomorrow. Now, there's only a couple of bowl games tomorrow, but there's a handful of bowl games coming up on Saturday. And of course, if you follow college football, you know that almost every single bowl game either comes on ABC or ESPN, so they're easy to find because they're usually on the ESPN family of networks. There's only a handful of bowl games that do not come on the ESPN family of networks. And then I want to talk about some of the Tennessee opt-outs that we had yesterday. A couple of their wide receivers have decided to not play in their bowl game. And the only reason I'm going to talk about it today instead of in a couple of weeks when Tennessee plays Clemson is because I'm afraid and I'm scared that I'll forget by the time the game gets here, because it's 2 weeks away and there's just so much going on right now in the world of college football. If I put it off, I'll forget. But first, let's talk about the bowl games. Now, some of the bowl games, especially a lot of the ones coming up this weekend, tell you in the name of the bowl game where the game is going to be played at. So I ain't got to tell you, but the ones that don't say in the name where the bowl game is played at, I will let you know. Bowl games start tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. That's right, Friday morning, 11:30 a.m. is the first bowl game of the season. It is the Bahamas Bowl between the Miami of Ohio Redhawks and the UAB Blazers. And I know most companies, most offices always have a bunch of guys that print off the bowl games every year, and you would look over the bowl games kind of like March Madness, and you would pick a winner in each bowl game, and then when it's all said and done, you'd go back and look and see who won. If your workplace, wherever that is, has done that, please feel free to let me know and let me know who you've picked in each bowl game coming up this weekend. Not every bowl game, just the ones that I'm going to talk about today, so that as we go along, you can see how good or bad you're going to do. Also, tomorrow at 3 o'clock is the Cure Bowl. Now, this bowl game is played in Orlando, and it's between Troy and UTSA. Now, most people aren't going to watch this bowl game because, first of all, it's in the middle of December, and it's called the Cure Bowl. And you're going to look at the game and say Troy and UTSA, but I'm here to tell you, this is going to be a very fun, very exciting, very entertaining bowl game. It might be one of the best, if not the best, lesser-known bowl game coming up this year. And then Saturday, there's a whole slew of bowl games. First one starts at 11 o'clock Saturday morning. That is the Fenway Bowl between the Bearcats of Cincinnati and the Cardinals of Louisville. And I cannot confirm this because I have yet to find an article confirming it. But we've talked about it here on the channel how former Louisville coach Scott Satterfield left to become the new coach of Cincinnati. And I heard a rumor, I think it was on Tuesday of this week, that Scott Satterfield is actually going to coach Cincinnati in that bowl game. And that would be very, very strange that he just left Louisville 3 weeks ago and he's already going to coach his new team. But that is the rumor. I guess we'll find out Saturday morning at 11 o'clock whether or not that is true. Also on Saturday at high noon from Atlanta, GA, we have the Celebration Bowl between Jackson State and North Carolina Central. This is a bowl game that just started a handful of years ago, and it is the two best historical black colleges, and this year is Jackson State and North Carolina Central. Saturday at 2:30 is the Las Vegas Bowl between Oregon State and Florida, and I want this bowl game to be good. I just don't think Florida is any good. Saturday at 3:30 is the LA Bowl. Of course, that's played in LA between Washington State and Fresno State. So they made it easy on the teams. Neither team has to travel a long way. Then Saturday at 5:45, we have the Lending Tree Bowl. This bowl game is played in Mobile, Alabama, and it is food versus Southern Mississippi. And the reason why I said food is because it's rice, which is a food. So you're going to have food versus Southern Mississippi in the Lending Tree Bowl. Then at 7:30 Saturday night, we have the New Mexico Bowl, which is the battle of the abbreviations, because we have the SMU Mustangs and the BYU Cougars, or we could call them by their full name and say it's the Southern Methodist University Mustangs against the Brigham Young University Cougars. And then the last bowl game on Saturday night, 9:15, is the Frisco Bowl between Boise State and North Texas. And as I said earlier, coming up next week, we'll talk about all the bowl games coming up next week. But it's hard to believe bowl games start tomorrow. We've got 2 bowl games tomorrow and a whole slew of bowl games coming up on Saturday. And if you think bowl games are going anywhere, please feel free to let me know. I know I've talked about it numerous times here on the channel. Matter of fact, we talked about it last week. And when I say bowl games are going away, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm talking about as far as, for most people watching them, they're going away. Because we all know that in reality, bowl games themselves aren't going away. ESPN adds just about one bowl game every single year. I can remember just 5 or 6 years ago, we had like 32, 33 bowl games. Now we've got 41. ESPN keeps adding them because ESPN sucks now, and more folks are realizing ESPN sucks. So they're slowly going bankrupt. So they're adding all these bowl games to get money from the advertisers and the sponsors, because that's where the actual money comes in. I know when you watch the game on TV, we think it looks bad when they zoom around the stadium and it's half empty or three quarters of the way empty. It does look bad on TV, but in reality, how many folks go or how many folks don't go to the game means nothing. The money comes from TV revenue. How many people are watching and how many sponsors are forking in money. And as long as ESPN adds these bowl games and the sponsors keep sponsoring these bowl games, they're not going anywhere. To the average fan, they might go away because the average fan is not going to watch most of them now. Me personally, I still watch as many as I possibly can. I can't watch them all now because with three small kids, I just can't sit down and watch TV all day long, especially this Saturday bowl game starting at 11 o'clock. Be nice if I could watch them all the way up until time to go to Georgia Championship Wrestling Saturday night and then come home Saturday night and watch the rest of them. But with three small kids, that's just not going to happen. But I do still try to record 9 or 10 overall bowl games that I think are going to be the best of the bunch. And then sometime during the off season, late at night when the kids are all in the bed asleep, I'll go back and watch them, because 3-4 months from now, I forget the score. So when I go back and watch, it's like, oh yeah, that team won, because I don't remember. But I wish I could watch them all. But to me, the bowl games are still great, because I know when I'm watching these bowl games, as soon as they end, that's that team's last game until next season. So I'm always going to watch college football because it's on and the season goes by so fast. And I know that once they play their bowl game, that's it till next year. But most people now don't watch them. But it doesn't matter. As long as ESPN's making money off these sponsors, they're not going anywhere. I just wish we could go back to the days to where every single bowl game was relevant. Every single bowl game meant something. And every single bowl game, every college football fan sat back and wanted to watch them. I don't know if we'll get those days back, but it would be nice. But on to the Tennessee opt-outs. Their two best wide receivers have decided they're not going to play in the Orange Bowl, which comes up in 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from tomorrow on December the 30th, and I hate it because last year when Tennessee played Purdue, they had a couple of receivers opt out and not play, and they still went out and put up a bukus of points. They lost the game because their defense was awful. They lost their bowl game to Purdue, but they still scored plenty of points. The system Josh Heupel runs, you really don't need 5-star receivers. If you have walk-on wide receivers in that system Josh Heupel runs, they're going to be very successful. But I hate it because now if Clemson wins the game, the Tennessee fans are going to say, well, our receivers didn't play, so of course we got beat. And I hate hearing excuse makers. It's funny because a couple of weeks ago, me and a coworker of mine were talking about the Georgia-Ohio State game. And he asked me who I thought was going to win the game. And I said, well, Georgia's going to win the game. I don't want them to, but they'll win the game probably by 10 to 14 points because they're just better than Ohio State. And he got to talking about Clemson, and I said, look, I have never in all my whole born days used any excuse when Clemson gets beat. Matter of fact, most of the time when I'm around people, I don't even bring up sports. I let them bring it up. Both of Clemson losses this year, I got up Sunday morning, went to church, nothing changed. And other people had to come in and ask me what happened to Clemson. And my answer both times was, they got beat. They got to play better. You can't play like that and expect to win because you're not going to. So I told my coworker, Georgia fans are not like Clemson fans. I can guarantee you that even though both Clemson losses this year, I said we got to play better. If Ohio State beats Georgia, there ain't going to be one Georgia fan anywhere in America that's going to say, well, we just got beat. It's going to be, well, if this wouldn't happen, if that wouldn't happen, if that hadn't happened. And I thought about that yesterday when I read about Tennessee having those players opt out because now Tennessee fans are going to be like Georgia fans. If they lose the game, they're not going to say, well, we got to play better. The first thing they're going to say is, well, our receivers didn't play. Even though Clemson also has players that are not going to play, and Clemson's also playing their backup quarterback, they won't talk about that. They're just going to pretend like the only players that opted out of the game was the Tennessee wide receivers, which is 100% not true. And that's why I always say when you lose a game, just say you lost the game, because any team on any given day can find excuses. But you're never going to get better, and it's never going to change as long as you find excuses. Just come out and say, we got to play better. We played like doo-doo. It makes it so much easier. Any thoughts on any of these bowl games, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What does a spy do when he gets cold? He goes undercover. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.